Okay, today we are going to use the My Homework page for lesson 4.2. That's on page 207. So make sure you are there before you watch any further. Okay, so today looking at directions is possibly even more important than usual. So this right here says to estimate. Round to the greatest place value. Circle whether the estimate is greater than or less than the actual product. So the first thing to remember is our rounding rules. So let's go ahead and put them on a note really quick just to remind ourselves. So 4 and down, we'll leave it alone. And 5 or more, sometimes I like to say raise the score. Okay? So let's go ahead and do a quick, rounding really quick just to warm ourselves up. So if I had the number 4,247, and I was asked to round to the highest place value, I would go ahead and this is my highest place value, so I stop here, I look right next door, this 2 is less than 4, so I'm going to leave this number alone, and everything after is going to turn into a 0, okay? Let's look at one more. Say I had 5,723, and my job was to go ahead and round to the highest place value. This is the highest place value, so I'm going to look next door. This is a 7. That's 5 or more, so we raise the score here. So we turn this into a 6, and everything after comes to a 0, so 6,000, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing today, and the purpose of this is so that we can make our multiplying easier. Because as of right now, we don't know how to do 756 times 4. We don't know how to do that, and that's okay. And sometimes we also don't need an exact answer. So if we're wanting to know approximately like how many cookies are in a package, we don't need an exact estimate. We can just look at the rows. Oh, there's 3 rows. Oh, it looks like there's about 17 in each. Oh, we'll just round up to 20. There's 60 cookies in the package. Okay, we don't need an exact number. Sometimes you do need an exact number. So for example, if you want to make sure you have enough chairs somewhere, you want to have an exact number for that, maybe because you only have enough room for a certain amount of chairs, but if you have room for extras, it doesn't really matter. So that's why sometimes you might round and sometimes you might not. So we're going to go ahead and look at number 1. There is a lot of directions here. There are. So estimate rounding to the greatest place value. We've already practiced that. So we're rounding to the greatest place value. The greatest place value, and we're going to circle whether or not the estimate is greater than or less than the actual product. Well, let's look here. Is this estimate here, what we rounded here, is this 4,000 greater than or less than the actual number? It's less than. And that's because we left it alone. We rounded down per se. Okay, what about this one? 5,723. Is 6,000 greater than or less than? It's actually greater than because we raised it up. We went higher up. So when we rounded up, our estimate ended up being greater than our actual number. When we rounded down, our estimate ended up being less than our actual answer. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and now look at this first one. So they kind of showed us already. They wanted us to round 756 to the greatest place value. So that would be the hundreds place. So we have the 7. We look next door. This is a 5. So this is going to turn into an 8 and everything turns into zeros. Well, now they want to know what the answer is. Well, we practiced this the other day. look for my basic fact. 8 times 4. Well, I know 8 times 4 is 32. And how many zeros did they tack on? 2. So I'm going to put 2 zeros here. Boom. Now, there's one more question. Circle whether or not the estimate is greater than or less than the actual product. Remember, product is the answer of a multiplication problem. So we're going to go ahead and look at this. We rounded up. So that means that our product here is greater than our actual number if we actually solved it out. And I'm going to solve it out right here just to prove this to you so that you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to show this to you really quick. Don't worry, I'll show you how to do this in a little bit, in a couple days. So that's 3,224. It's not much. It's not much different. However, I think I made an error, so I am going to go ahead and stop right there. Yep, I did. That's 30,024. Here, I'll go ahead and rewrite it again for you. I apologize. 756 times 4. I made an error. So that's actually 7 times 4 is 30 plus, or 7 times 4 is 28 plus 2 more is 30. My bad. 3,024. So this one right here is actually greater than. Apologize for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at another one, and I will make sure that I round correctly and multiply correctly this time. So we've got 246 times 8, and we're again rounding to the highest place value. So I have my 2, and I'm looking next door at that 4. That's 4 or less. We're going to leave it alone. So that 2 is going to stay the same, and everything else is going to turn into a 0. So now I have 200 times 8. I'm going to look for my basic fact. 2 times 8 gives me 16. And then I have 2 extra zeros. Add the 2 extra zeros. 1,600. Okay? I rounded and I got my answer. I made it something I can easily solve. Now, next question. Is this answer here, this product, going to be greater than or less than if we actually solve 246 times 8? You're right. It would be less than because we rounded down. 246 is greater than 200. So this would be less than. Let's go ahead and do one more. Let's do number 3, and then we're going to practice a word problem. Okay? So we have 4,528 times 4. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to round to the greatest place value. So this time that's the thousands place. So that 5 tells that 4 to go ahead and raise the score. So this is going to turn into a 5, and everything else after turns into a 0. I'm looking for my basic fact of 5 times 4. And 5 times 4 gives me 20. And how many zeros did they add on? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, you might be thinking, just like the other day, oh no, there's 4 zeros. Nope. 20, 5 times 4 is 20, and we tacked on 3 zeros. Now, last question. Is this a greater than or less than answer than the actual product? Well, we rounded up, so it would be a greater than. Okay? Go ahead now and turn to the next page, page 208, and we're going to skip down to problem number 9. Zoom out a little bit. So estimate each product, then write whether the estimate is greater than or less than the actual product. There are 62 rows of 9 chairs in the movie theater. About how many chairs are there? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we have 62 rows. And there's 9 chairs so 62 times 9. Well, they said about. They don't want us to solve 62 times 9. They're not expecting that from us. They just need to know about how many chairs are in the movie theater. So let's go ahead and round this. Highest place value, that 2 tells that 6 to stay the same, and everything else is going to be a 0. after. Now I have 60 times 9. Well, 60 times 9, here's my basic fact, 6 times 9. If I still need my fingers, I can drag them out. 6 times 9, let's see. All right, 54. And how many zeros do we need to tack on? 0. So I can say there are about 540 chairs. Okay, so last question, is this greater than or less than the actual? Well, we rounded down, so if we actually solve this out, we would get a number larger than 540. So we're just gonna say, oops, my bad, this is less than. Okay, all right, that's how we do it. You round to the greatest place value, and then you look for your basic fact like we did the other day, and then you ask yourself, is this a greater than or a less than product compared to what the actual answer would be?